right, so at one time or another, you're going to face your hatch seal issue. Now, if you are having problems, which I showed in one of my other videos similar to that, the problem with these vehicles is because of the airflow and pressure that comes over the top, it causes a small, sort of like a funnel into all these weak points here. So your exhaust is coming out through here, and the pressure of the car is coming up and swooping over, down pressure on the vehicle. So then the gas fumes come up and get sucked in to your cabin there. Now, most of that I've pretty much read, and I suffer, similar to some of you, from exhaust smoke or some gas smoke leaking into the cabin to where sometimes it's unbearable. Now, these vehicles, the early ones, also suffer from the fact that the steel gas tanks, where they were stamped on the gas tank itself, tend to fail. Okay, so unfortunately, eventually you get some pinholes to where if you put more than half tank of gas in there, it starts seeping out and the odors come up. So this repair here is one of several things that you can do to try to take the exhaust and gas fumes out, at least from the cabin. They'll still exist. Another issue that you may also be facing is that your filler gasket here may be leaking inside there, so you may want to check as well. And they do sell some gas sealant that you can put on there. This one here is solid, and I replaced that one I found in older vehicles, so that was good. But on some of the newer models, anything that spills here tends to go in here, and there's a line that will bring it back into the gas tank, or depending on if something modified, it can go out and drip. So the problem with that is it'll leak inside behind this carpet, so you have to remove the carpet and this cover to be able to see that, or down at the bottom. Regardless, today we're going to be doing this deal. And as you can tell, it's quite old, extremely old, and you can buy these online. If you buy this specific one, it comes in two different, we're just going to call them flavors or sizes, and one will give you the exact amount, and sometimes they shorten a little bit, so you're going to get a little bit of play. And then sometimes you get one which is just a circular, no cuts, like a donut. Now, the downside to that is if you have a vehicle, which I don't, that has a third light, then there's a connection here. I don't have a way to show you how to fix that, unfortunately, but you have to either disconnect or cut the gasket. You'll have to do it based on your own vehicle. The good thing is, on the early cars, if you have a donut, all you have to do is take off your hatch struts, and you should be fine. And you simply just pull this grounding plug here, or the wiring for it, and then you remove it down at this part with a screwdriver. You pop this out, which disengages the ball that is holding inside here clipped, and this guy just pops out. It's quite easy to do. I'm not going to go into that at the moment. But in my case, mine was already cut, and the seal that I purchased is cut as well. So I'll just be putting it here as well, and then going around. All right, so let's get started on that. One more thing too to do is, as you're taking it off, as you can tell, that's everything that's caked on, because of course everything, this is a major connecting point. So every time you wash it, water comes in through here or seeps under, especially if you have a broken seal, so it's not able to use the actual geometry which was meant to be used to kind of, for the water to exit the vehicle as it was needed. In this case, it's supposed to come in, get blocked by the gasket, and fall out, or anything that seeps in from the top of the hatch through holes similar to this, which goes straight down and then eventually let it leak out. So this gasket plays a major role in that, but as you can tell, it's on there, and it's not too caked on, so actually most of that can come off. And what I'm doing is I have a brush, and I also have just, you can tell, see, and that's pretty much it. So we'll be cleaning this up, and then I'll continue this video when we get to the end part. All right, so I also want to point out that as you're taking the gasket off, you're going to reach the headliner. So this is where you need to start being really careful, because the headliner up here is actually being held in place by the gasket. So you got to be really careful when you clean this off that you don't accidentally pry it off, and we still have to do some cleaning there. So that's going to be tricky, and that's where the brush comes in, because you can brush and still keep the same amount of pressure. So again, once you reach that top part, don't just yank it. Try to remember, notice the connecting part there of the headliner. You got to be really careful, at least with this section here, so that you don't actually pull it off, because then you'll have to also start holding it back into place. Now, a good idea here would be to maybe get some clips and put them on there. I tested mine just a couple of seconds ago, and it seems to be glued on quite well, or holding on quite well because of the time. So I'm just going to be really careful. All right, then I'll start putting it. And as I'm cutting through this, as you can tell, it's actually not that hard to do. I'm just grabbing a towel and just kind of pushing it up. There we go. So it's nice and caked on, but it comes off in pieces. So I just wanted to show everybody a little bit what to expect. And again, just one good pass, and then bring it off. And then, like I said, I'll come back with a little bit of soapy water, but you want to make sure you get the bigger parts out of the way. I knew it wasn't going to be perfect, but now that I've done that, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the seal to where it's going to start. And as you can tell, since I know I'm going to be going around those, I set the seal already in place. That way I'm not fighting, rolling it, unrolling it, throwing it into position here. So I'll be starting here and moving around. And you know what? This is because I got all my stuff working on here. For some of you, I'm still doing the inside. So I just wanted to kind of clarify that portion of it too. So anyways, we're gonna start putting this on, and it's really just a matter of, and I'm just gonna clip the first part there, and then just pressing it all the way in, and then just working it little by little, going all the way around. All right, so just wanted to give everybody a heads up. So as I continue to lay the seal down, as you can tell, I've made it to about right there. But now I'm gonna come back here, and I'm using a rounded piece of wood here. And the reason for is I wanna make sure it's seated, sorry about that, I wanna make sure it's seated all the way, as you can tell right there. So one of the things you can do with this is, again, I put a little rag on there, is just make sure you're tapping it. But I also use this because I put both hands, one on this side, one on the other side, and I'm rolling it. I'm rolling it all the way down, especially in the curved parts, because you're gonna put it down and you think it's okay, but it's not. You gotta make sure, especially the corners here or the rounded edges, you wanna make sure you're rolling it through. And do it a couple of times just so that you're certain that it was seating correctly. And you wanna do it before you get further than that, maybe even at this point. That way it pushes it through and comes off. If you wait till you're all the way to the end and you push it through, it's gonna yank on that, or it's gonna assume you're gonna feel like you've gotten it, but after a while the tension's gonna come back and pop out. So just keep that in mind. Be a good thing to kind of roll. So project complete. One more down. Pretty happy about the way it came out. And that lined up okay. I was a little worried. I didn't like how that was, but considering that's just the rubber part, I can always cut that and stretch it out a little bit more, but I just wanted to seat for now. Regardless, I can live with that. Not too bad. Looking good. All right, so like I said, project down. There's your blessing. You guys have a good one.